My name is Julie, and this is the story of my life. When I was 17, my parents left me at a train station. It wasn't an accident. They didn't forget me. They did it on purpose. They said it was to teach me a lesson. They wanted to see how long it would take me to get home on my own. But I never went back. Now, 21 years later, they found me again, but not because they missed me. Not because they felt sorry for what they did. They came back because they wanted something. They needed money. They wanted support. They wanted control. When I refused to give them anything, they didn't stop. They didn't feel guilty. Instead, they turned my own family against me. They told lies. They tried to ruin everything I had worked so hard to build. I still remember that day clearly. It was July, and the heat made my skin sticky as I leaned against the car window, half asleep. My headphones were on, blocking out the sound of the road. My parents, Eric and Sophia, sat in the front seats. They were arguing again as usual. I didn't even try to listen anymore. I was used to them always fighting. The road in front of us seemed to go on forever, long, empty backroads in Mississippi. We were just returning from a weekend visit to see my older sister, Megan, at her college. The whole trip felt like every other one. Megan acted like everything was fine. Mom made little comments about how I should try to be more like her. Dad ignored me unless he was barking an order. I had learned not to expect anything different from them. Suddenly, the car slowed down. I opened my eyes a little and saw a small train station by the highway. It looked really old, almost forgotten, with rusty signs and faded paint. Dad pulled into the parking lot and stopped near a couple of vending machines. Without even looking at me, he said, "Go get me a soda." I pulled my headphones down, confused. "What?" I asked. Mom turned around and gave me a fake smile, the kind that never touched her eyes. "Get your father a drink, honey. And grab me a bottle of water, too." I sighed and got out of the car. The hot air hit me like a wave as soon as I stepped onto the cracked pavement. I didn't even try to argue. It never helped anyway. The vending machines stood next to the station entrance. Their colors were faded, and parts were peeling because of the sun. I pulled out a wrinkled $7 bill from my pocket and fed it into the machine. I pressed the buttons for their drinks. The machine made slow, creaky sounds before finally dropping out a warm soda and a bottle of water. I picked them up and turned around, expecting to see the car waiting where I left it. But it was gone. The parking lot was completely empty. For a moment, my brain didn't understand what I was seeing. Maybe they just parked somewhere else, I thought. Maybe they were still around, just out of view. I took a few steps forward, my heart starting to race, as I realized they had left me. I looked around at the empty parking lot. Every spot was clear. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Mom. "Let's see how long it takes you to get home. Consider this a lesson in problem solving." My stomach dropped. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a joke. They had really left me behind. My hands shook as I quickly pressed the call button. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. And again. But every time, all I heard was that cold, empty beep. I stood there, holding the soda so tight that the bottle started to crackle under my grip. My heart was beating so loudly I couldn't hear anything else, not even the sound of a train in the distance. They weren't coming back. I should have been shocked. I should have been heartbroken. But instead, I felt strangely calm. This wasn't the first time they had done something like this. When I was 14, they locked me outside during a storm because I forgot to take out the trash. At 15, they made me walk 7 miles home in the rain because I missed the bus. This was just another one of their lessons, their cruel way of showing me that I didn't matter. I looked around the station. A few people were walking by, not noticing the 17-year-old girl standing there alone with just a wallet and growing anger. I decided I wouldn't wait for them. I wouldn't play their game. I checked my pocket, $200 for my summer job. Not a lot, but maybe enough. I walked up to the ticket counter. The old man behind it barely looked up. "Where's the nearest bus station?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He pointed down the road. "A couple miles that way." I nodded and started walking. My phone buzzed again, another message from Mom. "Don't you dare call your aunt. Your father says you need to figure this out on your own." I blocked her number. Then I did exactly what they told me not to do. I called my aunt. The phone rang twice before I heard a voice I hadn't heard in a while. Julie? I swallowed hard. Helen, can you help me? I tried to sound strong, but inside, I was falling apart.
Her voice changed.
She sounded worried. Where are you? I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. I'm at a train station, I whispered. They left me, Helen. They just drove away. There was a short silence. Then she gasped. Stay right there, sweetheart. I'm coming to get you. That happened 21 years ago. Now, I stood in the corner office of Bridal Path Properties, the company I built myself, staring out over the skyline of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The city outside was full of life. Cars moving, people walking, but in my office it was quiet. Just me, and the memories coming back. My phone sat on my desk, its screen glowing with missed calls.
40 of them.
I ignored the unknown numbers. My eyes focused on just one name. Megan. A name I hadn't seen in 21 years. My stomach turned as I pressed play on her voicemail. Judy, please pick up. Mom and Dad found you. They need your help. I tightened my grip on the phone. She still called me Judy like we were kids again. Like nothing ever happened. I let out a sharp breath and deleted the voicemail. The next one was just the sound of crying. By the third message, she sounded panicked. Julie, please, you don't understand. They're desperate.
Just talk to me.
I quickly put my phone down before I threw it at my desk. They had found me, and I knew exactly what that meant. I had walked away from them 21 years ago with nothing but a bus ticket and a strong will to survive. I worked 4 jobs. I slept in a tiny apartment that smelled like mold. I pushed my way through college no matter how hard it got. Every part of Bridal Path Properties, my company, was built from the pain of the life they tried to destroy. And now, just when I was finally free, they wanted to be part of it again. I sat down slowly. My hands were shaking a little as I ran them through my hair. I looked at my reflection in the window. I looked calm and in control. But inside, my mind was racing. I had always known this day would come. I just didn't expect it to be today. I kept scrolling through the voicemails until I saw a name I hadn't heard in 21 years. Eric Loren. My father. I paused for a moment before hitting play. As soon as I heard his voice, I froze. You think you're better than us now, he said. His words were slurred, heavy with something I recognized too well, bitterness and alcohol. We made you, Julie. Everything you have is because of us. I clenched my jaw as he kept going. You think you can just erase us? After all we did for you? He laughed bitterly. Well, guess what? Life doesn't work like that. You owe us. The voicemail ended suddenly. Right after that, a text popped up. Your father is very disappointed in you, Julie. We need to talk. Call us. I stared at the message, my chest feeling tight. Disappointed? They were the ones who left me at a train station. They disappeared from my life. And now, I had somehow let them down? My anger boiled inside me. It was hot, sharp, and impossible to ignore. They hadn't changed at all. I leaned back in my chair, holding my phone tightly as I swallowed the lump in my throat. A part of me, the part still stuck as that scared 17-year-old girl standing alone at the train station, wanted to scream. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I wasn't lost. I wasn't helpless. And I wasn't running. I opened my messages and typed a reply to Megan. Tomorrow. Denny's on T Street. 8 a.m. Come alone, or don't come at all. I hit send, set my phone down, and looked back out at the city. Tomorrow morning, I would see my sister for the first time in 21 years. And this time, I wasn't afraid. I was already sitting at Denny's when Megan walked in. Her eyes moved quickly around the room, searching for me. She looked almost the same sharp cheekbones, same stiff shoulders. But now, time had left its mark. Her posture was a bit slouched, and there were lines around her mouth. She looked like someone who had been carrying too many secrets for too long. She had always been the perfect daughter. The one who followed the rules. The one who kept peace. The one who pretended everything was fine. But now, she looked tired. Our eyes met across the room. Neither of us moved at first. Then she slowly walked over, tucking a piece of hair behind her ear. "Hey, Judy." I took a slow sip of my coffee before answering. "I'm not Judy anymore," I said. "I go by Judy now." Megan's smile faded. "Right, sorry," she mumbled as she slid into the booth across from me. Her fingers nervously played with the edge of the plastic menu. "It's been a long time," she said. I didn't answer. I just stared at her, waiting for the real reason she was here. She sighed and set the menu down. "You look good," she offered. I raised an eyebrow. "And you look nervous." Megan gave a small laugh, but it didn't sound real. "Yeah, well, this is complicated." "No, Megan," I said, leaning in. "It's actually very simple. You want something, just say it." Her lips pressed into a thin line. Then she let out a breath. "Mom and Dad, they're in trouble." There it was.
She didn't wait for me to say anything.
The words rushed out, like she had practiced them 100 times. Dad lost a lot of money gambling. Mom has huge credit card debt. They're drowning, Judy. The house is going into foreclosure. I clenched my jaw, still watching her. "They need help," she said softly. "They need you." I let out a long, slow breath. "I don't owe them anything, Megan." She flinched. "I'm not asking you to forgive them," she said quickly. I just want you to listen." My fingers tightened around my coffee cup. Listen? Had anyone listened to me when I was 17? Alone at that train station? Had anyone cared when I stood shivering in the rain because building character was more important than showing kindness? I leaned back in the booth, my stomach twisting with a mix of anger and deep exhaustion. "They didn't just mess up, Megan," I said firmly. "They left me at a train station on purpose." She winced. "They came back an hour later," she whispered. I cut in. And whose fault was that? The air between us felt like glass, fragile, cracking, full of everything we never said. Megan blinked quickly, her fingers twisting in her lap. "They thought you'd come home. They thought you'd crawl back." I finished for her, just like always. She stared down at the table, breathing shallow. I shook my head. "I'm not their daughter anymore, Megan. I haven't been for a very long time."
Her shoulders started to shake.
But I didn't soften. I reached into my pocket, pulled out some cash, and dropped the bills on the table. "If they ever try to contact me again," I said, "I won't be so polite." Megan stayed there, staring at the table. I got up and walked away without looking back. I thought that was the end of it. But I was wrong. The next morning, I threw myself into work, trying to forget everything that happened at Denny's. The talk with Megan had left a bad taste in my mouth. But I wasn't going to let it ruin my day. The past was the past. I had built something strong, something real. And no one, not even them, could take it from me. Or so I thought. A loud knock on my office door snapped me out of focus. Maria, my assistant, stood in the doorway. Her face looked tense, like she wasn't sure how to tell me something. "Hey," she said slowly. "I think you need to see this." She stepped inside, phone in hand, pausing before she handed it to me. I frowned and took the phone from her. The screen was open to Facebook. My heart sank as I read the words in front of me. "Our daughter left us alone in our old age after everything we gave up for her." Right below it, another post said, "We raised her to be strong, and this is how she repays us, heartless." A slow heat rose up my neck. They were making themselves look like the victims, as if they were the ones who had been hurt. There were hundreds of comments. Strangers were attacking me, sharing the posts, even tagging my company's page. I scrolled through the replies, my stomach churning. I can't believe some kids treat their parents like this. What a shame. Ungrateful brat. I hope she ends up alone. Money changes people. Shame on her. I slammed the phone down on my desk. Maria stood there, looking uncomfortable. "I didn't want to show you," she said softly, "but it's spreading fast. Clients are seeing it. Some people even left bad reviews on Bridal Path Properties page, calling you cold and fake." My heart pounded in my chest. This wasn't just a couple of posts. It was a full-blown attack. I took a slow, deep breath, trying to steady my hands. Who else knows about this?
I asked.
Maria hesitated. Some of the staff. A few of our major clients. I think some of them are waiting to see how you respond. I nodded. Okay. Thanks, Maria. I'll take care of it. As soon as she left the room, I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. Megan answered on the third ring. Judy? Her voice was cautious. I gripped the phone tightly. Did you know about this? There was a long silence. Finally, she let out a breath. I told them not to, but they're desperate, Judy. I gave a dry, bitter laugh. Desperate people don't attack their own children. They just want help, Megan said quietly. They think this is the only way to reach you. By lying. I snapped. By turning the internet against me? Megan didn't reply. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. I should have known better than to believe they'd ever change. I hung up before she could say anything else. Almost instantly, a text popped up. You ungrateful brat. Take that post down. I stared at the message, feeling a calm rage build inside me. Then I opened my own social media account and started typing. Some people rewrite the past to avoid taking responsibility. I won't let that happen. I hit post and tossed the phone on my desk. They wanted a fight? Fine. Let them fight. I had thought the Facebook posts were the worst of it, but then they showed up at my office. It had already been a long, exhausting week. I'd been busy fixing the damage, checking company pages, answering worried clients, and doing everything I could to keep my personal life from affecting my business. I ignored the sudden wave of messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, people who now had strong opinions about a story they knew nothing about. I was barely sleeping, surviving on coffee and pure determination. Then the intercom on my desk crackled. Julie, Maria's voice came through hesitant. There's an elderly couple here. They say they need to see you. I froze. The coffee in my hand suddenly tasted bitter. Did they give their names? I asked, even though I already knew. Maria let out a sigh. They said they're your parents. I exhaled quickly and forced my face to stay calm. Tell them I'm in a meeting. There was a short pause. They're making a scene, she said quietly. Of course they were. I set my coffee down, pushed back my chair, and walked toward the lobby. The moment I stepped through the doors, I saw them. Sophia was putting on a show, pretending to cry, holding a wrinkled tissue to her face. Eric stood next to her, arms crossed, looking around like he was ready to start a fight. As soon as Sophia saw me, her face crumpled. My baby, she cried loudly, making people turn to look. You won't even speak to your own mother. I stopped walking, my jaw clenched tight. Around us, staff whispered. Some pulled out their phones and started recording, like they were watching a scene from a reality show. I swallowed hard, trying not to show how sick this made me feel. Eric sneered. You've turned into one of those people, huh? The kind who forgets where they came from. I didn't even flinch.
Leave. Now.
Sophia gasped and clutched her chest like she was about to faint. I gave birth to you, Julie. I raised you. And now you treat us like we mean nothing? I clenched my fists and stared her down. You are nothing to me. A wave of shocked gasps filled the lobby. For a second, everything went silent. Then Eric's face turned red with anger. You think your money makes you better than us? He shouted so everyone could hear. And then, Sophia actually dropped to her knees, crying into her hands like she was truly heartbroken. We just wanted to talk to you, to see you, but you've become so cruel. People around us whispered. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked entertained. I had had enough. I stepped forward and lowered my voice, speaking firmly and clearly. If you don't leave right now, I'll have security escort you out. Eric took a step closer. His voice turned low and cold. You owe us, Julie. We made you who you are. Sophia stopped crying all of a sudden and looked up. Her eyes weren't sad, they were cold. You can't erase us, sweetheart, she said quietly. You'll always be our daughter. I let out a sharp breath and turned to the security guard nearby. Please escort them out. Eric laughed bitterly. You're going to regret this. Sophia stood up and smoothed her dress like nothing had happened. Poor thing, she said loudly enough for everyone around to hear. Too much money. Not enough heart. I stood still and watched as security walked them out. Their voices echoed through the glass doors as they left. I should have known they weren't finished. This was only the beginning. The next day, a letter arrived. Maria walked in and placed a thick envelope on my desk, her eyebrows drawn together with concern. This came by courier, she said. It's from a law firm. I didn't move right away. I just stared at the envelope, feeling like I had been through this before. Another problem. Another attempt to pull me back into the mess I had worked so hard to escape. Slowly, I picked it up and tore it open. As soon as I read the first few lines, my heart started beating faster. My parents were suing me, using something called filial responsibility laws. I let out a dry, bitter laugh. Unbelievable. They were actually trying to legally force me to pay for their lives. The same parents who left me at a train station when I was 17. The same people who ignored me for 21 years. Now, they wanted me to clean up their mess? I dropped the letter onto my desk and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Maria stood near the door. You okay? She asked gently. I let out a breath through my nose. Call James. I need to talk to my lawyer. She nodded and walked out. Minutes later, I was pacing across my office, phone pressed to my ear as James picked up. When I finished reading the letter to him, he said calmly, well, technically, in some states, they might have a case. I stopped walking. You're saying they can abandon me as a kid, and now I owe them money?
He sighed.
It's rare, but sometimes courts side with the parents, depending on the situation. Wisconsin doesn't have strong filial responsibility laws, but if they push this hard enough, they could still make your life difficult. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Unbelievable. They're hoping you'll settle, James said. That you'll give them money just to avoid a long court fight. I laughed bitterly. Then they don't know me at all. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. It was my mom. I almost didn't answer. Almost.
But something inside me snapped.
Before I could stop myself, I hit accept. What do you want? I asked, my voice flat. Sophia's voice came through, overly sweet. Julie, sweetheart, we just want to work something out. We wouldn't have to do this if you'd just help us. I clenched my jaw. Help you? I asked coldly. After everything you did to me? She let out a fake, dramatic sigh, like I was the one being difficult. Honey, that was so long ago. Families fight. Parents make mistakes. But we're still your parents, and we need help. I felt my hand tighten around the phone. You're not my parents, I said. You lost that right the day you drove away. There was a pause. Then her voice turned cold. If you fight us, we'll take this to court. Do you really want that kind of embarrassment? I almost laughed. She really thought she could threaten me with embarrassment? My anger turned sharp, clear, focused, and strong. Try me, I said, my voice calm and firm. Then I hung up. I stood still for a moment. My heartbeat was steady, not from fear, but from anger. They thought they could break me. They had no idea who I had become. Then they came after my business. I should have seen it coming, after the lawsuit, after the online posts, after all their desperate moves to get back into my life. Of course they weren't done. But just because I expected it didn't make it hurt any less when it happened. I was at my desk, going through paperwork, when Maria knocked and peeked inside. Her face looked tense. You might want to check your email, she said carefully. I raised an eyebrow but picked up my phone. The moment I saw the subject line, my stomach dropped. Concerning allegations against you. I opened the email quickly. Julie, I hope this isn't true, but I wanted to let you know. We've received several anonymous messages accusing you of financial misconduct, especially with your family. They say you stole money, ran away from your responsibilities, and have a history of lying. We value our partnership, but we need you to clear this up. The email was from one of our biggest investors. My heart started racing as I scrolled down. Attached were screenshots of fake emails, all saying the same things. That I had taken money from my parents. That I used their money to build my company. That I was a fraud. I let out a hard breath and dropped my phone onto the desk. My hands were shaking. Maria stood in the doorway, looking concerned. What's going on? I took a slow breath and forced myself to stay calm. They're trying to destroy me. She frowned. Who? I grabbed my phone and started dialing. Who do you think? 15 minutes later, I was on the phone with one of my business partners. He sounded unsure. Look, Julie, I don't want to believe any of this, but we've received a lot of these messages. Do you know where they're coming from? I asked, my voice tight. There was silence. Then, reluctantly, he said, some of the emails were traced to an IP address linked to your parents. I closed my eyes and gripped the edge of my desk. They had gone too far. First, they tried guilt. Then they tried public shame. Now, they were trying to destroy everything I had worked for. They had made a big mistake. Because now it was war. I called an emergency meeting with my PR team. They sat across from me, serious and tense. One of them spoke. Our advice? Don't say anything right now. Stay quiet and let this pass. No, I said firmly. Not this time. I turned to my laptop. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I wrote my own statement. For years, I suffered under the control of manipulative parents. I walked away to protect myself. Now, after 21 years, they're trying to ruin my name and destroy my business. I will not stay silent. I will protect what I've built. I hit post. Let them try. I wasn't afraid anymore. A few hours later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Eric. You ungrateful brat. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I typed back. If you keep going, I will take legal action. This is your last warning. I hit send. No reply. But I knew they wouldn't stop. They wanted a war? Fine. I was ready for one. The next day, I got a court summons. Maria walked into my office, her face pale, and gently placed a thick envelope on my desk. It's from a law firm, she said softly. I didn't need to ask who it was from. I already knew. I took the envelope and slowly tore it open. The bold text at the top confirmed what I already guessed. Eric and Sophia Loren versus Julie Loren. Reason: failing to support parents under state law. A bitter laugh slipped out of me. So this was their final move. When guilt didn't work, when public shame didn't work, when attacking my business didn't work, now they were using the law. Maria stood in the doorway. What do you want to do? She asked. I let out a sharp breath and grabbed my phone. Call James. Tell him I'm on my way. Later, I sat in James's office. The lawsuit spread out on the shiny wooden desk between us. He read through the papers, shaking his head. Their case is weak, he said at last, looking up at me. Wisconsin doesn't strongly enforce these laws, but if they stir up enough attention, it could hurt your reputation. I clenched my fists. Then we go public, but on our terms. James raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? I nodded without hesitation. I've been quiet long enough. People need to know the truth about who they really are. That night, I wrote my public statement. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I shared everything. How my parents treated me, how they taught lessons through cruelty, and how they left me alone at a train station when I was 17 and never came back. I told how they only reached out when they needed something. By the next morning, my post had gone viral. Everything changed fast. The same strangers who once judged me for being ungrateful were now angry on my behalf. The comments came flooding in. This is heartbreaking. Who leaves their child and then tries to take their money? I believed the parents at first, but now, they got what they deserved. Suing your own child after abandoning them? Unbelievable. People finally saw the truth. The story had flipped. They had lost control. 4 days later, Megan called me. Her voice was low and shaky. They lost everything, Judy. I sat in my car, staring at the city lights. That's on them. She breathed out heavily. They're blaming you. Of course they were. I gripped the steering wheel. No, Megan. They made every choice that led to this. Not me. For once, she didn't argue. A week later, I drove past our old house. A big for sale sign stood in the yard. It looked smaller than I remembered, and empty. I thought I might feel proud, like I'd won. But all I felt was peace. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need people to agree with me. What mattered was that they no longer had power over me. And that was enough. For the first time in 21 years, I finally felt free. No more stress. No more fear. No more wondering when they'd show up again trying to pull me back into the past. I was home. The city of Milwaukee stretched out beyond my balcony, glowing in the soft evening light. A warm breeze brushed against my skin. I sat with my legs tucked under me, a glass of wine in my hand. Everything was quiet now. The chaos had passed. But even peace, it seemed, had one last test. A knock at my door broke the silence. I didn't even have to move. I already knew who it was. I opened the door and saw Megan standing there. Her eyes were red. She looked tired and worn out. "Judy," her voice cracked. "Please." I didn't speak. She stepped closer and whispered, "They have nowhere to go. Dad's drinking again. Mom keeps saying they just need one more chance. They're still our parents." I held onto the door frame, my heart feeling heavy. She still didn't understand. "They made their choice," I said calmly. Megan's face fell apart. "How can you be so cold, heartless, selfish?" I finished for her. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I just don't want to lose my sister because of all this." I took a deep breath, my throat tight. "You didn't lose me," I said softly. "They did." Megan let out a shaky sob. Her hands trembled as she wiped her face. "They just need." I shook my head. "I'm not the one who needs to fix what they broke." Her shoulders dropped. I swallowed the lump in my throat and stepped back. "Take care of yourself, Megan." Then I closed the door. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. An hour later, I sat on my balcony, watching the sun slowly sink behind the city skyline. For years, their voices had played in my mind, even when they were gone. The guilt, the shame, the what-ifs.
But now?
Just silence. And it was beautiful. I took out my phone and opened my contacts. I stopped at Aunt Helen, the only real family I ever had. I typed, "Dinner this weekend. My treat." Her reply came right away. "Finally. I've been waiting for you to ask. Mexican or Italian?" A small smile formed on my face. "Mexican. Extra margaritas." Then I took a deep breath and opened my call log. My parents' numbers stared back at me like ghosts from the past. It was time. I blocked them both. No more second chances. No more guilt. No more control. I walked back inside and closed the door behind me. I wasn't running anymore. I was free. Before the story ends, I want to leave you with something to think about. For years, I carried the weight of a past I never asked for. I let guilt, duty, and fear of being seen as ungrateful control my choices. But here's what I've learned. Family isn't about blood. It's about who truly stands by you. Sometimes, the people who should love us the most are the ones who hurt us the worst. And when that happens, you have two options. Let it define you, or let it go. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong. Setting boundaries isn't mean. It's how you survive. And choosing yourself after being told you don't matter? That's freedom. So, if anyone has ever made you feel guilty for picking peace over pain, let me tell you this. You don't owe anyone your suffering just because they share your DNA. You deserve to be free. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from a toxic relationship, family or not? How did it change you? Drop a 2 in the comments if this story touched your heart. Or tell me where you're watching from. And if this story didn't sit right with you, let me know why. I respect every opinion. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another powerful message. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to share more with you. Until next time, choose yourself. Always.